Daniel 7. New details. The fourth beast, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass. Daniel 7:19. Daniel 2 and 7. Recall the fourth kingdom as symbolized in Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. Furthermore, recall the dual nature of the divided fourth kingdom, a union of church and state. But the fourth kingdom has a dual nature even in its united phase. The fourth beast, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass. Daniel 7:19. The fourth kingdom in its united phase, dual-natured, consistent of two metals, iron teeth, brass nails. With Daniel 2 as our key, the iron must represent those elements of the Roman state which are of a purely Roman origin or invention. Since the divided phase of the fourth kingdom is the basis for our understanding of the meaning of the two metals, then one of the metals must be akin to the state of the divided phase, i.e. the secular, and the other must be akin to the church, i.e. the religious. For the sake of argument, let us say the iron, the elements of purely Roman origin, are secular. This is a good assumption, for as far as we know, the Roman state's secular characteristics, i.e. that of being a republic, having a senate, etc., are of a purely Roman invention. Recall that the third kingdom of Daniel 2 is symbolized by the belly and thighs of brass of the statue. Brass belly and thighs of the statue, brass nails of the nondescript beast, implying that the nondescript fourth beast is borrowing some religious aspect from the third kingdom. But the third kingdom is Greece. Has Rome borrowed any religious aspects from Greece? Yes, indeed it has. The Roman pantheon is very much a borrowing of the Greek. The head of the respective pantheons of Greece and Rome, Zeus versus Jupiter, their consorts, Hera versus Juno, the gods of war, Ares versus Mars, the goddesses of love and sexuality, Aphrodite versus Venus, the goddesses of wisdom, Athena versus Minerva, the sun gods, Apollo versus Apollo, the goddesses of the hunt, Artemis versus Diana, the gods of the sea, Poseidon versus Neptune, the gods of the underworld, Hades versus Pluto, etc. So now we understand how the potter's clay became miry clay, and yet the iron remained unchanged. The potter's clay became mixed with Greek brass, and became miry clay, mud basically, and the only thing you can do with mud is make mud pies. It can no longer be shaped and molded by the potter's hand into useful pots and vessels. Daniel 2 and 7. The fourth kingdom divided. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the fourth kingdom shall be divided. And in the days of these kingdoms, Daniel 2:41 and 44. So note, the fourth kingdom is divided. Thus now not only one king or kingdom, but many kings, kingdoms. And the 10 horns out of this fourth kingdom are 10 kings or kingdoms that shall arise. Daniel 7:24. Kings, kingdoms? Daniel 7 and Daniel 2 are speaking of the same event. But Daniel 7 mentions 10. 10 kingdoms? Who are the 10 horns and the 3 horns? And it, the fourth beast, had 10 horns, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Daniel 7:7 and 8. The Anglo-Saxons, which became England. The Alemanni, which became Germany. The Franks, which became France. The Lombards, which became Italy. The Burgundians, which became the Swiss or Switzerland. The Suevi, which became Portugal. The Visigoths, which became Spain. Now the 3 horns that were plucked up. The Heruli in 493 AD. The Heruli under Odoacer brought an end to the Western Roman Empire when they deposed the last emperor, Emperor Romulus Augustus, in 476 AD. The Vandals in 534 AD. And the Ostrogoths in 538 AD. Daniel 7, the 10 horns. Our source. The historian Machiavel, without the slightest reference to this prophecy, gives the following list of nations which occupied the territory of the Western Empire at the time of the fall of Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of Rome: the Lombards, the Franks, the Burgundians, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Heruli, the Sueves, the Huns, and the Saxons, 10 in all. H. Grattan Guinness, The Divine Program of the World's History. Complete, cheaper edition. London, Harley House, 1892, page 318. Daniel 7, New Details. And he, the little horn, shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Daniel 7:25. This is the structure of the verse. The flow of the text is 1, 2, 3, 4. A repetition or parallel. Examining the text. Notice the Most High and the Most High. Also times and a time and times and the dividing of time. Now the most important structure or information. Notice the saints. The saints are the they of the adjacent block of text, thus making the great words spoken against the Most High concerning think to change times and laws. A time, times, and half a time. Daniel 7:25. The little horn of Daniel 7 is perhaps the sea beast of Revelation 13. Our first source for a definition of what the a time, times, and half a time is. And he, the little horn, having the eyes of man and a mouth, verse 8, shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Daniel 7:25. And there was given unto him, the sea beast, a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Revelation 13:5-7. The little horn has a mouth that speaks great words or things. But the sea beast also has a mouth speaking great things. The little horn wears out or makes war with the saints. See also Daniel 7:21. But the sea beast also makes war with the saints. The little horn wars against the saints for a period of time, a time and times, and the dividing of time. But the sea beast also wars against the saints for a period of time, 42 months. The little horn and the sea beast do appear to be the same entity. So, definition 1. A time, times, and the dividing of time equals 42 months. The woman of Revelation 12. Our second source for a definition of what the a time, times, and half a time is. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Revelation 12:6. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Revelation 12:14. Verse 6 mentions a woman, but verse 14 also mentions a woman. She of verse 6 goes into the wilderness, but she of verse 14 also goes into the wilderness. She of verse 6 hath a place, but she of verse 14 also has her place. She of verse 6, they feed her there, but she of verse 14 also, there she is nourished. She of verse 6 is fed there for a period of time, 1,260 days. But she of verse 14 is also fed there for a period of time, a time and times, and half a time. It seems obvious that these 2 women are the same woman. So, definition 2, a time, times, and half a time equals 1,260 days. Given a time, times, and half a time equals 3.5 years, or times, with 1 year equal in 12 months, equals 42 months, with 1 month equal in 30 days, equals 1,260 days. Now to return to the question of the little horn and the sea beast, whether they are the same entity. There is a little more evidence to shed on this subject. The sea beast and think to change times and laws. Revelation 13:5-7. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. Daniel 7:8-25. There came up among them another little horn, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Verse 8. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Notice Revelation 13:5-7, a mouth speaking great things, and a mouth. Notice Daniel 7:8-25. Speak great words, which we know is a mouth speaking great words or things, because Verse 8 mentions a mouth speaking great things. Now notice Revelation 13:5 and through 7, the saints. Notice Daniel 7:8 and 25, the saints. Now notice Revelation 13:5 through 7, 40 and 2 months. Notice Daniel 7:8 and 25, a time and times and the dividing of time. A, B, A prime, B prime, A, B, A prime, B prime. Notice Revelation 13:5 through 7, blasphemies, defined further on as blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. Finally, notice Daniel 8:8 and 25, think to change times and laws. Notice Revelation 13:5 through 7, think to change times and laws is implied and understood. Note, a Jewish Christian in John's time, upon reading Revelation 13:5 through 7, would have immediately equated the sea beast of Revelation 13 with the little horn power of Daniel 7. Not only is Revelation 13:5 a mouth speaking great things, a direct quote from Daniel 7:8, but Revelation 13:5 through 7 also copies its structure and the type of information it contains directly from Daniel 7:25. The B's talk of the beast's little horn's persecution of the saints and the length of that persecution, and the A's talk of his mouth in its speech. Details are given on the contents of the blasphemies, but there is silence on the contents of the great things. But early Christians would have understood. The 30-day month in the Bible. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Genesis 7:11. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Genesis 7:24. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. Genesis 8:2 through 4. Note, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month. That is, the start and the end of the flood are exactly 5 months apart. But the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days, and after the end of the 150 days the waters were abated. 5 months equals 150 days, or 1 month equals 30 days. Symbolic or prophetic time. But as for you, the Israelites, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms, until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. After the number of days in which ye searched the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. Numbers 14:32 through 34. Lie thou also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Ezekiel 4:4-6. Each day for a year. The principle that these two texts teach is: one day in prophecy equals one literal year. Recall the structure of Daniel 7:25. Daniel 7:25, the great words of the little horn. Speak great words against the Most High, verse 25a, concerns, think to change the Most High's times and laws, verse 25c. Times. The Hebrew word translated times here, in its plural form, implies a cycle, like our week, which repeats every 7 days. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, etc. Plus, law, the Most High's law, the most prominent and most famous of which is the 10 Commandments, which contains a time law which cycles. Sabbath, a times and a law in the most prominent of God's laws, the 10 Commandments.